Um, hmm, today. So this is a highly intuitive group, as we all know. So I want us to take just a moment to imagine into, to reflect upon, where do you feel your intuition? So close your eyes for a moment and just feel your body and imagine if I was having that knowingness that comes up in us, that intuitive knowingness, where do I feel it? Is it in my body? Is it outside my body? Is it in my gut? Is it in my heart? Where is that feeling of intuition? Where does that first sensation of a knowingness arise? Hmm. You can open your eyes, and if you want to put in the chat where it comes up for you, it'd be kind of fun to know where people are feeling their intuition. Mm-hmm. Gracie, the third eye. Yep. The heart. Mm-hmm. Gut, heart. Mm-hmm. Hmm. So I've been doing this exploration of where that is in me, just out of curiosity, because I am in a practice of stepping into that knowingness as frequently and as regularly as possible. And what I have found is that I actually feel it in my bones. It's so deep in my body that I can't touch it, but it has this distinctive presence that is actually like sort of what I feel when the weather's going to change or something. And I actually feel it in my bones. That's where I feel my intuition. And one of the things that I notice is the rhythm of the moon brings up a certain intuitive knowingness. There's a certain similarity between how I feel when I'm having an intuitive flash and how I feel with the rhythm of the moon. So I want to talk a little bit today about the moon because it has a place, a home base in my bones. And I don't even need to look at the moon to know the movement of the moon. I feel it. I feel it moving every day. I feel the pull of it. It communicates, the moon communicates with us in many unspoken ways. Rumi has, and as poets do, many, many, many poems about the moon. One of them, let the waters settle and you will see the moon and the stars mirrored in your own being. How did the last full moon feel for you? Did you pay attention to it? Did you feel it coming? And when it arrived, did you have an expectation of fullness and of possibility and of maybe completion of something? Or did you feel like, oh, that's going to be some intense energy? I don't know about it. I'm not sure. How did you feel? The moon reveals the doorway to mystery through repetitive enactment. Let me repeat that. The moon reveals that the doorway to mystery is through repetitive enactment. But there's a profound relationship between deep altered states and a regularly repeating pattern. So we know this when we're in our spiritual sadhana, things such as 108 repetitions of a mantra, or any of the repetitive types of rituals and sadhana practices that we do, that they are intended to bring us into a deeper place in our psyche, in our body, in our connectedness with this deeper relationship that we have with self. So we use repetition. We know that patterns in our life can be very reassuring. They set up certain expectations of a sort of a calm, because I know every day that this is going to happen. That's how people often feel about their sadhana, knowing that every day I'll have the space to do these same pieces. Maybe I adjust them a bit, but these same pieces give me a sense of calm. There's a profound relationship between altered states and a regularly repeating pattern. So for the moon, what is the nature of the moon? It repeats itself constantly. It always changes, but there's a repetition. It comes back to a similar space. and place, but it's moving. Even in its movement day to day, it's shifting slightly. It's a repetitive utterance of the heavens above, the one that repeats its form. So the moon is connecting us to the cosmos. The moon has been seen as a bestower of trance and an inducer of ecstasy, even wildness. Where do we get the word lunacy? From the moon. You can go crazy by the moon, by the night of the moon. How many books, how many poems have been written about what happens under the light of the moon? What happens under the light of the moon? In its repetitive pulse, it gave early humans the first systems of measurement and the first calendars. The word moon is directly related to the words meter, measure, memory. And it's tied to all human endeavors that repeat: meter, measure, memory, moon, moon. Ritual, repetitive enactment. Humanity's primal means of remembering is something that we've learned from the moon. Scientists now find that lunar influence in all bodies, aquatic and terrestrial. It is plausible that the first life forms adapted to different rhythms controlled by the moon, so that maybe the evolution of all creatures was actually contained in the movement of the moon, in the cycles of the moon, that it led that evolution. It's becoming much more clear as we are studying relationships between bodies that are in the sky and bodies that are here on this planet, that all living bodies, which are, we know, majority of us is liquid, are fundamentally tidal lunar structures. We are tidal lunar structures. The moon is repetition. That's what it is. Meter is a measurement. The word measure comes from the same root as the word meter and the word moon. And the moon measures. What does it measure? It measures everything. Weeks are measured by the moon. Months are measured by the moon. Menstrual cycles are measured by the moon. Calendars were originally almost all lunar. So the calendar is a gift of the moon. And the months of the calendar are, of course, moon. March is the moon when leaves break forth. June is the moon when the leaves are dark green. September, the moon when corn is taken in, and so on. Measurement, moon, measure, meter. Measurement, the attunement to the rhythms of life, the attunement to how things repeat, the organization of human life around patterns. We can't escape this. The regular repetition of lunar rhythms allow us to measure and therefore to remember. How much of our memory is tied to the lunar cycles? Because this is how we keep track of time. This is how we keep track of what passes through us. The moon is memory. Meter, measure, memory, moon. We learn and we remember, and we embody everything through the spiraling of these repetitive cycles. So the memory that the moon brings comes through repetitive cycles of ritual. This is why we have patterns of things that we repeat in our life, because there's a memory in that, and it ties us to something bigger than just the act. Ritual comes from the moon. Ritual is everything in your life. It's not just a spiritual ritual where you set up something at a table and you have all these things that you do, and then you have a special process. No, your life is a ritual. And how abundant and how fruitful of a ritual you want to make that is up to you. But every movement that you have during the day, every breath that you take is a ritual. So you decide, how aware am I going to be of my steps in the day and how I've intersected with the ritual of my life. Ritual comes from the moon. We all know that ritual is built around lunar dates: full moon, new moon. All of the major Hindu rituals happen according to the moon. Easter is lunar, Ramadan is lunar. Ritual doesn't just honor the moon or coincide with lunar dates because they're some abstract thing. No, they're built into the system of this repetition. So there's a trust. We trust that this evolution each month is going to happen of the moon. We know that on day 3, it's going to have finished. It's the silence of the darkness, the emptiness, and it's going to start building again. And we know that. And we know on the middle of the month that it's going to have a certain look. We can project that. We know. Ritual enacts the repetitive pulse of the moon. So when you do these rituals in your life every day, whichever rituals you have decided are, whatever actions you have decided are actually rituals, you can relate them to the moon, and you can give thanks and gratitude and bow down to the moon for having allowed us to live within that type of system. So we feel these cycles inside of ourselves. We understand the way to align to the greater natural pulse is through the tide of nature. It's by reenacting these cycles. The moon has taught us that. Just as the moon lives in each one of us, the moon governs the course of life, the tides of life. The moon rules the life cycle, the cycle of reincarnation. So by extension, the moon rules what we would call reincarnation. The moon, of course, influences the cycles of the water on this planet. Right now, the moon is pulling half of the water of the world towards itself, bulging towards the moon. Half of the water in the world is impacted right now by the moon. Humans are not free of this lunar influence. We're not free of it. We can cooperate with it. We can use it to our benefit. We can join in with it and dance with it. This is the language of the poets that have written about it. You dance in ecstasy around the moon and the movement of the moon. We can use the moon to be an orchestrator of our life. Our consciousness comes from the moon. Meter, measure, memory, moon, mind. Consciousness reflects. It's a reflection of a process. It's a reflection of us looking at ourselves. We were talking about that in our opening time together. It's us reflecting. It's us seeing ourselves as in a mirror of somebody else and recognizing something in ourselves. This is how we understand consciousness, is that we see the reflection. It's a reflective process. We recognize oneself as a being, an aware being, in a reflective process. The moon is a reflective entity. It illuminates through reflection. Consciousness illuminates through reflection. Your increase in consciousness happens through your ability to be reflective of how you are, to be insightful enough to notice yourself in outside situations or internal situations and make corrections. That's consciousness. The moon illuminates through reflection. Consciousness illuminates through reflection. So the moon is teaching us how to take this journey into consciousness. The moon self-organizes in regular repetitive cycles. Consciousness self-organizes in regular repetitive cycles. The moon transforms through repetitive cycles in which it turns over time, and it returns to the same place, but not quite the same, because it's making multiple adjustments at the same time. It's going through a cycle, but it's adjusting and shifting constantly. That's what consciousness does. We do that in consciousness. We reflect and then we adjust, tiny adjustments over time. This is how we transform. The transformative power of consciousness over time is reflection. How do we transform? We repeat over time and we reflect and we make slight adjustments. Each time we reflect, the spiral of a cycle shifts a tiny bit. So we don't have to change a pattern or a habit or a behavior from all to nothing. It doesn't have to be from all to nothing. It can be slight adjustments, like we're turning on the axis, slight adjustments. We use this to reflect. I'm changing over time. I'm allowing myself this movement over time. I'm not just dropping something out of my life and saying that's all going to be great and I'm going to live without that. We've just created a big hole. No, we're reflective. We're saying, I'm making this adjustment. Is this the right adjustment? Yes, I'm reflecting. I'm conscious. Now I make another one. Yes, I'm reflective. This is the movement I want. That's consciousness. That's the moon. Consciousness and the cosmos. How are we connecting using what nature has already given us? It's already in our realm. We don't have to go look for it. We don't have to find a book. We don't have to read about it. We don't have to do anything but get out underneath of the moon and pay attention. That's it. That's it. It's so many of the tools, all of the tools that we need for our consciousness growth are actually in the cosmos, already built into the system. Already built into the system. So for us to be able to sit in gratitude of this immensely complex system that we sit in the middle of, that already has the answers to everything we need and has the structure to everything that we need, that's a profound practice. That's a profound practice when we bow down to what is already available to us. We don't have to go looking for it. We simply have to acknowledge that it's already here. So as our affirmation for this week going forward, we are going to affirm, if I can, I am ritual. I am ritual as a reflection of the moon, because you are that. You are ritual. And the more we step into that and we do that repetitive movement, it allows us for the constant just tweaking of our consciousness, the constant gentle movement of our consciousness into a place that we're wanting, the clarity and a purpose and a connectedness to all that is. Let's use the moon this week to do that. See how that works for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd like to add something to that, because in the yogic tradition, in the Kundalini tradition, we look at the moon as if the moon is moving through 11 centers in our body. That's why we are women, you know, every 2.5 days, the moon is in a different center. So that makes it really fluctuating, because every center has a different vibration. So and it's our task as women to really stabilize the moon within us. And how to stabilize is actually, we will not do it today, but I want you to know it, is to lie on your tummy and have your chin on the floor. Because this is one of the most profound moon centers, is our chin. So that can help us to most be stabilized, so that we own our emotions and our feelings instead of them owning us. And it's great that, you know, in the tradition, they say men with a beard are much more constant than men without beards, because men only have one moon center. So if they have a beard, they're much more steady. That's just the theory, one of those theories. So, but while you were speaking, and that's why I wanted you to go first, because you shared yesterday with me, you wanted to speak about the moon. I thought that I want us to connect with the water within us, and that's the Buddhi Mudra or the Varun Mudra. So the tip of our thumb goes to the tip of the pinky, and we rest the hands on our knees or on our thighs. And just for a moment, we tune into the vibration Ma, M-A, Ma, because that's the sound for the moon. So now I will play music, and then we just chant. It's very short, but really feel the Ma coming from below, from your second energy center. As if you're calling on the Inhale deeply, suspending our breath, bringing our awareness below our belly button. And we exhale. We turn our palms around, so we're letting go of the mudra. We go into Sufi grind because the Sufi grind activates the water element. It stimulates the kidneys, our reproductive organs, our bladder, everything that has to do with water and fluidity within us. But we want to reverse the direction. I'm just being present to how much am I in the flow of life. Often do I call on Grandmother Moon for her wisdom. So with the mudra I shared and with the sound I shared, we actually regulate the water and stabilize the water within us. Now we activate it. Our kidneys are the glands in our body who balance the water. So they are really connected to the energy of the moon. We slowly come to center. Inhale nose, exhale open mouth. When we open our eyes, we rub our palms until we create the heat that we need to warm our kidneys. And then we place them onto our kidneys left and right, letting the heat penetrate through our clothing. Two more times, rub your palms rigorously. So ensure that your kidneys energy is always, stable and steady. There's not much kidney depletion, because if there's kidney depletion, there's also a separation from the energy of the moon. I always think that the moon works through our kidneys. No ice cubes, no cold drinks, cold food. Good, last time. And just let the warmth be received by your kidneys. Just imagine. Huge amount of water are being balanced through these little glands. They're just fist size, so they are not big. Good, and then we place our left hand into our left. We close our right nostril with our right thumb. And we in and exhale through the left nostril only, stimulating the lunar energy, creating more calmness, warmth within ourselves. In and out. Let all these other fingers touch, pointing towards the sky. And let them be like antennas, receiving the heavenly energy. You're being present to by breathing long, slow, and deep, how your nervous system starts to relax, how the breath becomes longer. The breath is like the ocean, the waves are coming in and going out. Expansion and contraction, like the ocean. After the next exhalation, just bring your hands back onto your knees. The tip of your thumb goes back to the tip of your pinky. So this way you balance and stabilize the water within you in this mudra, in this finger position. If you feel emotionally overwhelmed, if you feel like, oh, I'm so, too sad or too something, then you want to decrease the water within you. And when you want to decrease the water, you would bend your pinky and you would put the thumbs over your pinky. Yeah, so that's decreasing the water within us. And you would do it on both hands. You would have to hold it for, a minimum of 30 minutes. But you can do 3 times 10 or 2 times 15 minutes. So bending the finger is decreasing the element that is at home there. For right now, we just want to balance and stabilize, having the tip of our thumbs at the tip of our pinkies. And then we go into our chanting.